we mentioned in the intro that you did not eat the way that you eat now. So tell us a little bit about what kind of lifestyle did you lead in your childhood, your young adulthood, and your first years as a cardiologist that got you up to 250 pounds and not feeling very good?
Yeah. So it was very, almost kind of a typical story, I would say, is, I grew up on a standard American diet, eating all the standard American foods, burgers, fries, hot dog, pizza, processed foods. Basically, I ate what my culture told me to eat, what the food system provided, what tasted good, what was convenient. And it was not, not very healthy. And I went through all my medical training and didn't have any, nutrition training, or nobody ever said, hey, you should start eating healthy. It's good for prevention, et cetera. And, growing up, my sister reached 450 pounds. Both my parents were over 300 pounds. And honestly, the two main professors that trained me were 250 to 300 pounds. And it didn't really hit me at all, because when you're young, you can still feel good and it doesn't really affect your health too much. But right around the age of 34 is when I started getting some obesity-related health issues, some acid reflux, sleep apnea, blood pressure, getting more short of breath and fatigued. And I kind of had my own aha moment. My gosh, I have 6 kids. I can't keep up with them. I got to keep myself healthy. And that's when I realized, I don't know how. Nobody trained me in nutrition and how to lose weight. I just figured, I just need to exercise more and eat less. I could eat donuts still, just fewer donuts and fewer cookies, and drink less soda, had all these wrong, things in my mind. But what was really interesting and unique, I think a lot of people have that realization they need to change their diet and get their health back in order. But I was also struggling as a cardiologist, meaning at that point in time, when I had my own personal health aha moment, I was also in my practice for about 4 years, and I was just not happy taking care of patients. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just giving them pill after pill after pill after pill. And the patients don't like medications. They have side effects. They cost money. And even if I give them the perfect medication regimen, according to guidelines from the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology, a lot of times they still have heart attacks. They still have strokes. They need stents or bypasses. I'm like, something is really just missing here. And it didn't hit me that it's the lifestyle, that's the absolute critical thing. And it didn't hit me because my culture I had these blinders on, just thinking, food's not that important. If food and lifestyle was that important, that would have been the focus of my training, right? But I wasn't trained in that. And I remember sitting at my desk one day, and I was getting into the lifestyle medicine concept for myself and trying to integrate it into my practice. And I just said, let me just Google search a simple question. What percentage of heart disease is preventable? And the World Health Organization said greater than 80%, and other authorities think 90% or more. And then I thought, wait a second. Heart disease is the number one killer. It has been every year since 1919. More Americans die every year from heart disease than the number of American soldiers that die in combat in all wars in American history ever. And you're telling me it's 90% preventable? Like we know how to prevent it? Basically, if it's 90% preventable through lifestyle, that means the cause of heart disease is an unhealthy lifestyle, diet, and being sedentary and smoking cigarettes and all these things. It's not just genetic. I was always taught heart disease is progressive. It's a part of aging. It's genetic. Yeah, you can lower your risk a little bit, maybe if you exercise or eat healthy, but that's not the big part of it. And that's backwards. I mean, the cause of heart disease is diet and lifestyle almost all the time. There's rare exceptions. And so that needs to be the primary treatment, but it's clearly not the primary treatment in our current healthcare system, which just kind of made me really angry, honestly. So I changed my diet, lost weight, and changed the way I practice medicine now, where sure, I'll go through their testing, their medicines, and listen to them, but then I try to spend as much of the visit as I can talking about lifestyle.
This was, the way I understand it, though, a little bit of the two-step process. And the first step, when you realized, after you Googled that's a fascinating story. Wow. And you look and you say, okay, it's lifestyle, not drugs. That's the key here. So you did what seems like a smart thing to do. You started following the USDA food guidelines closely. And you were also running, but you were right. You hadn't watched Forks Over Knives yet. You hadn't gone plant-based. You're doing what you think is the right thing. Okay, I'm really going to follow this food pyramid, but you're still overweight and you were still not feeling good. So what's going on with these food guidelines that the USDA puts out that you were
Oh my
following?
gosh. Yeah. Of course, I'm thinking to myself, the government's not going to lie to us, right? It's got to be,
Oh
it's got to be the right thing to do. So yeah, I read those USDA guidelines twice, and chicken, fish, low-fat dairy products, olive oil. You can still have processed foods, just don't overeat it. Moderation. And that, and the more I think about things and reflect back, I mean, things that are bad for you shouldn't be done in moderation. You shouldn't do heroin and cocaine in moderation.
No.
You shouldn't smoke cigarettes in moderation. Things that are bad for you, it should be zero, right? And that's the same with processed foods. And then, okay, fine. I did lose some weight with exercising and cutting out, the donuts and the cookies and such. But, I was eating lots of chicken and fish, low-fat dairy. Looked at my cholesterol numbers. They were still high. And I wasn't feeling the energy. And I also did reach a plateau. I kind of couldn't get that next step to get to my ideal body weight as a 6 foot tall guy. I wanted to get down to 170, and I was kind of stuck in that 183, 185, despite running, a couple marathons already at that point. And it wasn't until I watched Forks Over Knives and I thought, geez, chicken in many surveys is the number one source of cholesterol in the American diet. Is either chicken or eggs, which came first, chicken or eggs. And olive oil still has saturated fat. It's very calorie dense. And as I learned a lot of these things, I was just like, wow, this makes complete sense. So I cut them out and went on 100% whole food, plant-based, low-fat diet. And oh my gosh, the last, 10 pounds, I actually lost almost 20 more pounds. I got down to 163 at one point, just melted right off, and my energy went up, and my LDL cholesterol dropped from 135, which is higher than the average American. And that was despite following those USDA dietary guidelines and having lost weight and exercised. It dropped down to 60, which is like what some people would call that heart attack proof level. And I was like, wow, 60. But I was eating chicken and fish, and I was avoiding cheese and processed foods, yet my numbers were still so high. And there's, everybody's different how their cholesterol reacts to dietary changes, but clearly I had found what was right for me and for my body. Yeah.